Hey gang, we can file this one under transgender safety tips. Malaysia Booker was beaten after a traffic accident by several people over a month ago. Last weekend, she was found murdered, and she became the 5th trans woman that we know of murdered this year in the United States. One man was arrested for beating her in Texas a month ago, and he was charged with, I think, aggravated assault, but it's not a hate crime in Texas to beat up a trans person because they're trans. Her cousin said she was repeatedly targeted for being trans. Wherever she went, people picked on her. Just recently in Denver, Colorado, Amber Cole was severely beaten after she left a bar around 1:20 a.m. on a Sunday morning. She suffered a broken jaw and possible permanent paralysis of her face, while witnesses stood by and watched. When the beating was over, luckily still alive, she got back into her vehicle and went to the hospital. Nobody can tell the police who it was that did it, and they're even offering rewards for anonymous tips. She had a cell phone video which showed her getting into a car and then saying to the person holding the camera, "Keep the camera running," returning towards the bar, probably to engage whoever it was that was talking to her, but the beating didn't get on film. In Philadelphia this year, a black trans woman named Michelle Tamika Washington was killed at 5 a.m. She suffered several gunshot wounds. Several gunshot wounds usually means anger, or that the person had planned on doing it to begin with and wanted to make sure they finished the job, that the job got done right. In Cleveland, I believe in the same week, Claire Legato, 21, was shot to death during a quarrel between her mother and a man, another trans girl. These are all trans women. Just last December, a Detroit pastor shot and killed a trans woman named Kelly Stowe while fighting over money in his car. He said she jumped into his car and tried to rob him. He's on trial for murder. What do all these things tell us other than the fact that 4 of these women were black? And we all know that violence happens to predominantly black trans women in our country. They're the ones that are most targeted. But that doesn't mean that the rest of us are safe. Okay. Amber Nicole was not black. What we learn from a lot of this stuff, if we look at the statistics, if we want to stay safe when we go out on the town, when we're living our lives, when we're doing what we need to do to get to work or get home, is you have to remain vigilant and situationally aware at all times. Now, we all know that the current administration is bolstering a lot of anti-trans feelings, a lot of hatred, a lot of bigotry. And he's empowering these people. He's making it seem more acceptable to pick on marginalized groups. Hopefully this will come to pass in a couple years. In the meantime, do not engage in violence. Do not think that at 1 o'clock in the morning, leaving a nightclub, you're going to further our cause by standing up for trans rights to someone who wants to hurt you. When we look at the case of Amber Nicole, she was getting into the car. She hadn't been beaten. She returned, and then when she came back to the car, she had a broken jaw and could have been killed. Best to leave. Boy, you got one foot in the door of a car in that situation. Get the rest of you in there and go. We gain nothing really from engaging in physical violence with other people. It certainly doesn't make us look like women. It certainly doesn't make us look calm and passive and intelligent. Sometimes in certain circumstances, you just have to let things go and you just have to try to de-escalate as best you can and get out of there. It's so much better if you survive that encounter than if you stand up for yourself or if you let your ego get the best of you. Now, I know that a lot of us have been socialized as men, and a lot of us can probably fight quite well with our hands. A lot of us have been in the military. 30% of this community has been in the military. You are predisposed to some violent behavior, and you feel like you know how to handle yourself. But you gotta. I did too. And 3 years on HRT has done a real number on my strength. So I have to be careful. I am certainly not the man I used to be. And I have to remember that when someone, calls me a faggot or laughs at me or says that they would prefer I wasn't in their venue. It doesn't happen very often. But rather than stand up for my rights, which I really don't have in the state of Wisconsin, but if I'm somewhere else where we have equality laws, I can stand up for my rights, and I can call the police, and I can get up in someone's grill, and I can do all this other stuff. And all it does is really make us look like we're, in the eyes of the majority, it makes us look like we're just trying to start trouble. We've got to pick our fights. And midnight at a bar is not the time to be fighting. That's not the place to pick your fight. I know some of us have been surrounded. Some of us have been corralled. We can't get away in that situation. Then you do whatever you can to stay alive. And we know that statistics show that if you do fight back, you're much less likely to die, and you're much more likely to survive the incident emotionally going forward in your life, knowing that you did try to fight. But you need to know when you can get away and when you can't. And being situationally aware will help that. Don't expect anyone to get your back for you. Don't expect anyone to help you. Don't expect another trans girl that you're with to help you. I've seen it. If people don't agree with how you're behaving, they're not going to stand up for you. And most civilians, as I like to call them, who don't understand us, and we're not going to try to figure out why we're getting our ass whipped, they're just not going to step in. People don't step in. We see this time and time again in videos of street fights. People don't step in. You're on your own. And that's the way you have to take it. You have to believe that you are on your own. Now, can you handle things on your own? Do you know how many of your assailant's friends are going to jump in when you get the upper hand? No, you don't. The last place in the world that you want to be in a skirt and heels is on the ground, on the concrete, when 4 of his buddies decide that they're going to help start kicking you in the kidneys. Don't break the rules of stupid. Now, it can be assumed, it's assumed, and it's actually been proven that a lot of these trans women that have been killed are involved in sex work, and I'm not holding that against them. I've said this time and again, everybody's got to make a living, and when you're marginalized and nobody wants to hire you, you got to do it any way you can. But what they're dealing with are the dregs of society roaming around at 3 o'clock in the morning or at 5 a.m. who don't want to pay, who are almost always armed. They may be getting picked up by a serial killer who's out trolling for a victim. I mean, Chicago has at least one serial killer that they believe is working right now, and he's been working for about 10 years down there, and he may have killed 20 girls. But since they only solve about 18 to 20% of their murders in the city of Chicago, he's got it all going on. If you're going to go out in numbers. There's always strength in numbers. And don't think you're going to get one of your girlfriends to videotape you while you stand up for your trans rights, because that's what Amber Nicole thought was happening with her. And your friends, you'll find out that your friends don't run video cameras very well. I've tried this several times in bars when I thought this would be a great video, a great little snippet to put on my channel. This guy's messing with me, so I'm going to stand up to him and we're going to see where it goes. And nobody can figure out how to run my Galaxy 8 Plus and film it. Okay? It's happened more than once. So don't expect it to happen. This is my personal experience as well as what we saw with Amber Nicole. Go in numbers. Try to de-escalate. Remain situationally aware. Know where your friends are. And don't break the rules of stupid. We all know the rules of stupid. Don't do stupid things at stupid times with stupid people in stupid places. Now imagine what could happen if you break all of those rules. Now, they just had a trans convention in Las Vegas. I want to say Viva Wildside. A lot of my friends, Facebook friends, were there. Saw lots of pictures taken. Somebody posted a video of like 150 of them walking into the Cosmopolitan Hotel, en masse, all together. Great, In a suburb of Chicago, 4 a.m. is a stupid time. If you are outside a bar, there's probably stupid people around. If you engage a stranger who may seem friendly at first, but then realizes that you're not a cisgendered woman, you may find out that now you're dealing with a really stupid person. And you're going to realize that you're doing a stupid thing. And you've broken all the 4 rules of stupid. If you need another analogy, we'll go to Vegas, where there really aren't any stupid times. They are the 11th most dangerous city in the country, but not on the Strip and not around all of those security guards. And certainly not with 149 of your friends. Yeah, were they out late at night? I bet. Were they drinking a little too much? I bet you $100 they were drinking a little bit too much. Were they in a big city? Yeah. But in that party town, those aren't necessarily the rules. They're not breaking any bad rules there. That place doesn't even get going until 1 o'clock in the morning. Stay with your friends. Don't go places you're not familiar with. If you go somewhere you're not familiar with, you won't know the best way to escape if you need to get away from people in a hurry. I frequent a lot of nighttime establishments, And I know that, if you go around the corner into an alley next to this one place that I like to go, there's usually someone there after 11 o'clock at night smoking dope or doing stuff that I really don't want to get involved in. Okay, well that's not where I want to retreat to then, in the event that someone accosts me out on the street in front of this place. Know your surroundings and understand what's going on. If you're going to go out and drink too much, you're going to lose your ability to make good decisions. You're going to lose your ability. And a lot of people who are drunk alongside of you might not realize that you're not a cisgendered woman because they don't see too well, and they're checking out your figure, they're checking out your hair. And then when you start to talk to them, they realize that you were at some point in your life maybe considered a man, and it could anger them. I'm not telling you not to talk to anybody. Just saying you got to use common sense. And, if you get a bad feeling about somebody, trust your instincts. If that person acts disdainfully towards you in the bar or in the nightclub, and then you see them hanging out by the door when you're leaving, make sure you're with somebody else, keep your eye on them. Don't let them get too close. You got to pay attention to this stuff. I ain't never seen anybody that can fight in 6-inch heels, and I see a lot of T-girls wearing 6-inch heels. We got to stay safe. It's not going to get any better, not for a while. Okay. I worry about you guys. I feel like a mother hen preaching to everybody, telling them how to be safe. If anybody has any comments about any time they were attacked or they were treated badly and they got scared, put them in the comment section, please. And maybe we can start a discussion about it. I'll be posting this to all my Facebook groups, so hopefully we can get something going in there too. Love and peace to all. Let's just try to accept one another for who they are.